overcame a flu, so now I have energy and I am happy.
Good, good
And
to.
since you quoted Moshe Idel, I was wondering here at
Mm-hmm.
one idea,
Yes.
because Moshe Idel made a great research about all these lines of Kabbalah and magical mysticism, let's say. And I can remember some books from him. Uh, it is in Portuguese, so I can try to translate it, but can remember that he speaks about this magical Kabbalah. And I was wondering it because I was wondering about this contact with the numinals, with this contact with this energy that brings us the awe, this deep feeling of secret, this deep feeling of connection, of unity. And Moshe Dell made this research about this magical, this kind of sternal way to make this connection with this energy, let's say. And I would like to know what do you think about and and what do you think about this connection with the numinous, with the sacred in daily life?
Thank you for the question, Fernando. Everyone has let's say, is at the moment here in this life, and it's for everyone accessible. And it is every moment the connection. Even when we translate, sometimes the connection is against us, but it is always existing. And it's good that you asked this question regarding the research of Moshe Idel, because he was mentioning in a way, and I would like to open this here at this moment, because at 16th century, 15 something, 1500 and something, there were, let's say, community in Tzfat. This is in the northern part of Israel, and they were reading and writing. They were assembled together around the book of Zohar, and among them, you have mentioned his name, was Moshe Cordovero. And Moshe Cordovero had a notion, he knew, because his students were coming from Italy those days. So he learned from them what is the spirit in Italy. And because they brought with them the spirit of Renaissance, or the beginning of Renaissance in Italy, and it also was like Christian studies, so they brought with them, though they were Hebrew, they brought with them what is happening at the moment in Italy. They brought it into Tzfat, and in a way, this exposure from a student brought him to open, yes, the Hebrew writings for all. So he interpreted, translated, opened the book of Zohar. He wrote 30 volumes, yes, about the book of Zohar. And the notion that came from him as a teacher was to open, this is to make it accessible for all, regardless of who's the hearer. And he was the teacher, the Cordovero, while Luria and also Vital and others were among his students. And he did not live, he wrote a lot. He started at the age of 28 writing, and he did not live that long. And immediately after his passing away, Luria, as his student, in a way became the teacher of this assembly of, and Luria in a way gave an opposite direction. The Cordovero was just to open and open and open, and in his lifetime, writings were arriving to Italy and were printed there in Italy and influenced a lot, let's say centuries even later. But after he passed away, Luria became the teacher or the guide around the students or the sages, and Luria's instruction was completely opposite: to close everything, not to share. And even those brilliant students that they were writing themselves, they were not like passive students, like learning to read and write. They were themselves authors. Yes? And even them, he did not trust all of them, and those who were assembled under his, let's say, teaching, were having to sign a paper that promised not to reveal what Luria is teaching. This is quite interesting because the Cordovero opened everything, and his writing flew to Italy, streamed to Italy from Israel, and there were printed, while Luria gave in a way the opposite instruction. He did not trust all of his students, did not accept them as a student, and he in a way ordered them to close the way of wisdom outside, because he was afraid that when those things will arrive to the open public, they will be, let's say, misunderstood or manipulated. And in a way, those two askolot, or those two schools, are arriving to Europe. The Cordovero, the infinite opening, yes, and the closure, or the command of closure, by Luria. Interestingly, and this is how things are, Luria did not live that long. After Cordovero died, he becomes a teacher, but only for 18 months, because he is passing away quite young at the age of 38. So his instruction was only for 18 months. And his student, Rabbi Chaim Vital, do not write as his teacher command him, but only at, let's say, the last passage of his life, and even then his writing are being smuggled, yes, to Italy and being printed there. Just in a way, this is quite interesting, because this is just a little frame for our conversation, to see that in the same city, in the same time, yes, different or opposite relation to open source. When the Cordovero comes from Cordoba in Spain, Cordova, Kiryatova. So the Cordovero opens everything, and there is in a way no hierarchy. It is open to everyone. He sorts the whole Hebrew system to one system, which is accessible to everyone. This is the Cordovero. When his student that attends his lesson and becomes a teacher because he's passing away, this is, let's say, Holy Spirit, how it goes. When his student opposites everything and shuts everything down, this is quite interesting, because it's a little unit of time, like two opposite tendency, and those two different tendency will influence, yes, life many, many centuries later. The opening and the closure. The opening of the Cordovero and the closure, yes, of Luria. Questions, Fernando, friends, about it? This is happening in the 16th century, while in Europe we see in a way the beginning of the Renaissance, yes, rebirth of the human spirit, and how the human spirit is being reborn by writing and publishing books. Questions? Good morning, Cindy. Good morning, Felipe, and good morning, Rodrigo. When you hear, when you listen to one lecture from Moshe Del, it opens so many windows and doors and gates, and how versatile in a way was this period, the beginning of the 16th century in Europe, in Italy, and especially the exchange, or the, let's say, the key spot, yes, of North Italy in all of the story, because in North Italy there's like a house of prints, there's a printing houses, yes, and what is happening there, it's quite remarkable. There's also a lot of how do you say, the word does not coming to me at the moment, but who will publish first? The word does not come to me in English. In Hebrew we say tacharut, competition, yes? There is also a competition. Yes, there's also competition, yes, between the house of print, who will print first, because there is a demand, there is in a way a revolution, because there's something that people did not see before. There's an ability to print books. Before, people could only be nourished by handwritings or handwritten notebooks or books, and it cost fortune. But now there's a demand, yes, and there's like different handwritings, and also there is, in a way, this is the lecture that I was listening today about the book of Zohar. We, in our times, we say the book of Zohar, but 500 years before us, before it was printed, there were like handwritings, different notebooks. And in a way, the printer or the editor had to decide from which handwritten source to sort and to print a book. What we know now, again, 500 years later, different editions, different universities, different libraries, we say the book of Zohar, for us it's one thing. It was not like it at the moment of print. In the moment of print, there were different sources of handwritten notebooks. And the one who edited or printed it, the house of print, the printing house, had to decide how to sort the text. And in a way, how to sort the text, in which order and which source to include already influence the way of the book. There was no, in a way, one story that you come to the publishing house and please print for me this book. There's like, let's say 10 notebooks, it's one book. Please print, it's already there, just print it as it is. No. In the moment of print, there was a decision. which source will be included in what order. And there were like two printing houses that were printing the book parallel, and each one has or had its own version. And in the time of print in Italy, in North Italy, and the whole happening happened in North Italy because it was a melting point. People from Spain, Hebrew people that arrived to Italy as a consequence of the deportation of Spain arrived there. There were native Italian Christians and Hebrew. Also, there were Ashkenazi, what so to speak, German and Poland Hebrew people. So there was like a melting point there in terms of cultures, languages, attitude, lifestyle. And also there was like not a competition, but there was a tension who will influence and which book will arrive to the cardinal, or even better, which book will arrive to the Pope in this time. Because at that time there was Renaissance and people were open to the Hebrew. So there's a lot to say, and I'll post the lecture later here, and you could listen to it with any translation because YouTube translates to different languages. So it's beautiful topic to be exposed to. And while the Book of Zohar was printed there in Italy, there was still handwritten Zohar notebooks that did not arrive yet to Italy. Those handwritten notebooks were coming from the East. Moshe Idel does not mention in his lecture what is East to Italy, because East to Italy can vary from Turkey, what we call Byzant, or even Israel. He doesn't say. He says that in the moment of printing the Book of Zohar, and at the beginning of the 16th century, there are still Zohar handwritten notebooks which are coming from the East, but he doesn't give the name of the place. So this is like, let's say, on the tip of the iceberg. What is happening, or what has happened in the 16th century in Italy. The Renaissance is the rebirth of the spirit, and the spirit expresses itself in writings and in publishing books, because this is how the spirit goes. Questions? Yes, Fernando?
If
Yes.
I may, I've read a lot about this epoch as well, and I can remember that the Medici family made like a new academy and translate all the Plato's books and Aristotle books at that time, and hold also great painters as Da Vinci, Raphael, Michelangelo, and others. You know, everything was blossoming. Was like the art, the literature, the communion, the convivial between many ideas. Also, the Bible for the Christian world in that time was the that came the Protestants to translate the Bible, right?
Yes.
The Reform. But I once I read a book about from Reuchlin that was from this Plato Academy from the Medici family. And he was the one who was defending the Hebrew language for the Christian world. like defending the importance of the symbolism for Christians. And he wrote like 2 or 3 books about about the Hebrew and about the symbolism. And the fun fact is that he was persecuted for the Inquisition, and he wrote a letter to the Pope. And the fun fact is that the Pope in the time was from the Medici family. So when he started to be persecuted, wasn't a Medici, but when he made his defense was a Medici from the Medici family that he was like a close friend. So he writes defending the Hebrew language, and the people are struggling to know if to maintain it or not. But just after this come the Lutero and the Protestants. So uh, the problem was bigger, let's say, and the church like stops to look at this, like let's see what is happening here as at the cliff. I'm just thinking about this because you said about this Luria story and about this the importance of the books and about what you are making here, that is like to show that everybody can their own capability to have a connection. And when you make a secret, only the keeper of the secret have this power, let's say, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we think about the story of the Bible, only the one who knows Latin and have a Bible that is printed only for the church can know the word of God, let's say. Uh, so the importance of sharing knowledge, you know, just just it's. Sorry to take so many time,
No,
but
no.
just to share this thought.
It's excellent because you bring, in a way, an equivalent picture. Yes, the opening, Reuchlin. It was opening, and then came Luther, Martin Luther, and there was like reaction, and suddenly there was a closure. It is interesting because it happens in a way regardless of cultures and times. And there is a sense of opening. Let's say Cordovero opens everything. Luria comes and bottles everything up. Reuchlin, in a way, open. Comes another period when translate the Bible into German, and comes this spirit of closure, everything. So it is quite interesting that there's a sense of opening, and opening always goes with the spirit of the public, or to open, yes, because there's nothing to hide, and immediately comes a closure. The interesting thing that Moshe Idel also mentioned today, why everything has this echo of Luria, though the Cordovero did something great because he wrote a system. He managed to arrange everything under one system and to open it to everyone. So he did such a great thing, but everything is known under Luria. So people ask if he did something so great, and they were even in the same room in a way, because Luria was his student for a while. So how come the Luriani Kabbalah got such a reputation and echoes, and Cordovero, though he wrote 30 volumes, and also he wrote Pardes Rimonim, Pomegranate Orchard, and how can we explain this? People who research this for decades, how can you explain such a phenomenon? And Idel gave a very interesting answer. He said that when people came to Luria, or Luria could tell people in the morning what they dreamt at night, or what is bothering them without them even have to tell him what bothered. So he knew a lot of the subconscious of people, and people relate to him in a way like a magician, because he had some kind of an access to the subconscious. And this is in a way what increased his popularity. Yes, because the Cordovero did not dealt with it at all. He just sorted the books and make it accessible for everyone, and everyone could access, and it was like open, wide, in the light. And if he had personal issue or something with himself, he went to a person in Tzfat called Lapidot Ashkenazi, and he used to share with him like intimate moments. Because you can see in the Cordovero's life that there is, in a way, order. There is his work, and if he has something, he comes to a person one-on-one. But regarding to Luria, everything was different. If someone had something, he did not even have to say this to Luria. Luria could tell him what bothers him and what he dreamt of at night before even this man has to speak. So the reputation of Luria as magic worker or sorcerer was so huge. And in a way, this is what jumped everything to the brinks. Yes? This is quite interesting. Quite interesting.
And the histories about Luria are amazing, right? Like he informed people about his past lives also, and things like this. And he was a young man that was recognized as the teacher, like succeed Moshe Cordovero. It was not something, let's say, ordinary, um, the daily life, to a new teacher with 30 years old to succeed a great Kabbalist, Safed, and all of this. So Lia was quite something. He had this, this mysterious aura around him.
Yes. And people liked it, and the more people, it is interesting because the less people give attention to the revealed, they, in a way, all the attention, in a way, in people's life stream to the subconscious, and this later, in a way, how do you say, exploded in Europe later. Yes, it exploded in Europe as a Sabbatianism, and also as what happened through, in a way, Luther's translation of the Bible. This is quite interesting. In a way, the less people give attention to relations in life, the more the subconscious accumulates and accumulates and accumulates all kinds of things until it is exploding.
Amazing it, indeed.
Because it happened, it is the same. It's not that the Hebrew world was disconnected from what happened outside of the Hebrew world, but you see the same picture, yes, moves here to Sabbatianism, to magic, sorcerers, spells, and so, and you see the same thing in Europe. It's fascinating. It is quite fascinating that, and this is a human thing, and also we can see this in our times, yes, that people are in a way withdraw themselves from human relation in daily life and contact with life. And the more they retreat into their own imaginations or holdings, yes, the more demonic their life become. And if we, it's one person's life, and it adds on all of those things, and suddenly there's an explosion. In human relations, on a daily basis, all things are coming, seasons and different emotions and tendency. And if we let this occur naturally, we are not preventing ourselves from relationships. Yes, life has space for everything. But if we prevent or restrict our relation to daily life or to daily happening, and we lock this thing up somewhere in the subconscious, or we don't let ourselves experience daily life, it finally will explode in one's person life and also in the life of communities. And it has proved itself in history. There's a beautiful example in the 20th century. I don't know how much you want to open it, but in the 20s, 1920s, there was a great explosion in the entertainment industries, movies, records, music, cabaret, meaning nightclubs, and so. And exhibitionism, like to show off in fashion. Lady used to cut their hair like short, Charleston times or whatever. So, yes, Cindy. And we can see this extreme. Yeah, people are going out to nightclubs, to dancing halls, to see movies, have kind of shady lifestyles behind cabaret. Cabaret is like a nightclub. And there's a lot of show off at night, and in the night scene, everybody's so beautiful. Makeup for men also in the movies. If you remember the silent movie, men used to wear makeup like in the time of Queen, but before Queen. And alongside with this extra, let's say, something lifestyle or pompous lifestyle, there's a lot of poverty, and people there are not even running waters in the houses, and people have barely something to eat. If you will see, this is also accessible on YouTube, documentaries, like people were filming street shots, yes, in France, in Germany, in Vienna, in New York, in London. We shall see the streets or the sidewalks are exploding from people. There are more people walking on the sidewalk, and it's all over the place. There are more people than the space of the sidewalk. And if you see those documentaries, one after the other, even few minutes from each shot, you get a sense that there's like people are like rats on the street. not just from Berlin, London, New York, and Vienna and Paris. Just you see, people like rats. There are more people than space to be. And this polarity, from one side living extravagant life of dancing, yes, and movies and makeup and fashion, and inability even to feed oneself, or there is not enough space for rent and no running water, and not enough, how do you say, hygienic, if ever. And it will explode. I mean, we look back and we see this, those two extreme lines will funnel, yes, at the end of the day, and a war will come. Because it's like a valley. This goes, there is no, in a way, harmonious relations between the opposites, and it will explode. And also it happened also in the 16th, 17th century in Europe as well. Something is happening, but there's an undercurrent which is going on at the same time. Fernando, Sandra, Yanis, Pixidis, Luke, would you like to say something? Felipe, Abigail, Rodrigo, Ogbay, would you like to say something? Yes, Sandra?
Yes, everything you just spoke of in the 1920s very much sounds like what life is like right now. These people don't shower, Etsy. These people are out here just doing nothing but entertaining themselves, occupying themselves with, what do you call those things? Online games.
Mm-hmm.
There's a humongous lack of intelligence right now.
Yeah. Idiocracy.
I know.
Have you seen this movie?
Idiocracy.
Idiocracy.
Yes, that is a documentary.
Yeah.
Idiocracy is 100% a documentary. That is exactly what we're living in. It's scary. It's funny at the same time because it's comedy, but it's
It is sad comedy because this is what is happening. People are more and more, you know, in the 20s, they used to go to nightclubs. Now they're on, how do you say, TikTok as a media. All nourishment is coming from TikTok, from another video, but there's no land. I mean, there's no conversation. There's like charging of systems with more and more nervousness and disinformation. Mm-hmm.
they believe it. They believe the disinformation. Yeah, I don't even know.
The only
I mean, there's
thing,
nowhere to go.
yes, Sandra?
No, it just seems like there's nowhere to go but up from here, but I don't know how that's going to happen.
I mean, those conversations, those meetings are really, really essential because this is the truth. I mean, people speak to each other; they are sharing the ground of reality. Yes.
And see, this is walking that fine line where I have become so much of an introvert, and on my days off from work, I stay home. I don't interact with anybody. And I feel like it's kind of the wrong thing to do, but it's the only thing to do to protect my own intelligence. Not to brag, but in my own headspace.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. Because what is not necessary, what is necessary to do outside, we do, but how do you say, reasonable exposure to what is happening. It is many times that we used to take walks here on the shore, but there's some kind of a mood or people, okay, there's a war here for a long time. It's impossible to even to describe what is happening here. But to keep your mental realm or sphere healthy, it is, yes, is to pay attention to whom you communicate to or with whom you are in connection. Yes. What
So I'm
people
grateful for you in your classes.
you're most welcome. What people used to consider life as going out to bars and pubs and get drunk with friends, this is not socializing. This is opposite in socializing. People used to say, you don't go out in the evenings and all. What is there and with whom do you share the moment? And if it's sharing it on a glass of wine or a cup of beer, this is not really sharing. It's avoiding sharing, just distracting. And if people need a cup of wine to be intimate, it's not really intimacy. It is proven. In Germany, there was a research published 2 days ago that there is no healthy amount of drinking alcohol. Once you drink alcohol, and the cells are dying, and this is it. There is no healthy amount of drinking or positive amount of drinking. Once it hits the cell, it's done. And it doesn't matter if it's wine or beer or whatever it is. So it is important in those days, in those times, that people are in connection with each other on the ground of truth. Yes. What is necessary, we do the daily necessary activities, errands, yes, but very focused inside, yes. And interestingly, and this is a question that Fernando asked at the beginning, I believe, in relation to this infinite, the infinite is always is here. I mean, behind what our brains are telling us that this is reality. Yes? Because people will tell you if you don't meet a certain amount of people per week, you're not alive. If you don't go to certain places, it's not true. It's just not true. This infinite is always here. Yeah, you see, Yanis, you already have a moon from the window. That's great. Thank you for sharing. This is the moon of Tu B'Av. Tu B'Av. This is 15 of Av. Yes. Tov Av. Tu B'Av. Av is good. Tu B'Av. Tov Av. Tov Av or Tu B'Av, which is a full moon. It's a meeting day between how do you say, unmarried ladies and gentlemen. This is the day which unmarried men and ladies used to meet. an encounter and get married. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, I guess. Yes, the source of Tu B'Av, it is the full moon of Av is a biblical story. There's a biblical story that starts, let's say, on the left foot, not a positive one, if we would judge it according to our dimension. But this is how it starts. It's a not very positive story, but let's say the end of the story is this holiday of love. Tu B'Av, Chag Ha'ava, holiday of love. Yes. Beautiful look. Yes, surrounded by love. Yes, surrounded by love. Can be a cover for a book. Look, so beautiful. Yes. Any questions that you would like to ask about anything? Yes, thank God. Slowly, look, slowly. Yes. Do whatever it feels to you. What comes to you, Sandra? What comes to you? What comes to you? What is the I see in between the letters? Yes, there is a space that the letters Pixides are considered to be bodies, BODY. Yes, the letters are like bodies, and to read between the letters is like we say to read between the lines, to read not just in a way the object in the room, but the whole atmosphere, like you say, to read a room. Yes, so I don't know if you asked something, Pixidis. Did I give you an answer? So to see between the letters, sometimes the space between the letters comes as a reality. Once Fernando was writing here, still we were on Slack before Discord, and he was writing, and suddenly you see that the letters are coming to you, and the space between the letters is radiating or bringing new life about, And this is like what comes. Yes? This is a new reality from the space. Because the letters are finite. Yes, they have a body, they have a form. But the space in a way is alive. Yes? So to read between the letters. Or HaChaya, Fernando. Or HaChaya. The animated light. To read between the lines or to read between the letters. In Hebrew, it has a name, Likro Ben Hashitin. Likro Ben Hashitin. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Here. So Sandra, you would like to teach, and it seems to me that there's someone here who wishes to learn. Read between the lines. Yes. Tov, yes. Tu B'Av, yes, yes, it's like Tov. It is good. And with this beautiful blessing of Tu B'Av, I would like to wish each and every one of you a very good, lovable, illuminated holiday, circled with love. Thank you for opening a new week and being with us today. Toda Rabba and Shalom Shalom. And see you here on Thursday if you have time.